a virtual meeting with remote public comment. Welcome to the special public meeting of March 8th, 2021 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers on March 4th, 2021, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. I do have one announcement, and then Ms. Sue Wachowski is going to be reading a letter to put into record. The past Friday, we're very sad to announce that Councilman Art Cummings has resigned due to health reasons. Sue, could you please read the letter?
Surely. I have received this and dated on March 5th. Dear colleagues, my physicians have advised me that I will be unable to execute the duties and responsibilities necessary as a member of the Township Council. Consequently, I hereby resign from the council effective immediately. It has been my pleasure to work with each of you and to serve the residents of the township over the past several years. I wish you all the best in your coming endeavors. Sincerely, Arthur J. Cumming.
Thank you, Sue. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We're going to move on to salute to the flag. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Here.
Councilman DeSena,
Here.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Here.
Council President Feeney.
Here. Let the record reflect also participating via conference call. Robert Tovo, Administrator, Susan Mikowski, Township Clerk. We also have Chief Skinner, Lieutenant Pecora, and Officer Shira. Did I get that right, Chief Skinner?
Yes, Stacy, Lieutenant Shara and
Lieutenant Shira, sorry.
Director James Giblin will be joining us very shortly. He'll kind of come in nice and quiet. He'll be on the opposite corner of my office.
Okay.
CFO, Mrs. Feeney, is CFO Corcoran on the call?
I believe Mr. Tovo was inquiring with his schedule, so I think we're going to try for the next meeting. So
No, he's still recuperating, as I reported last week. So hope to have
from
him back
surgery.
tomorrow.
Yeah, he had minor surgery.
Correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So we'll let you know, and we will also be releasing the schedule by the end of this week for the following weeks for the budget meetings, so everyone's aware. And let me know if any of the dates that I send you, if they don't work, let me know ahead of time and we'll reschedule. So if the department heads need to be in attendance, just let me know so we can make sure that everybody's available. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Just wait 1 second. Are we meeting Saturday? Is that your question?
No.
Okay, so just,
we-
okay, so we're going to,
Approval of minutes, none?
not right, approval of minutes and none. To participate in the general public comment portion of the meeting, please click on the link below to join the webinar. You'll be asked to state your name and address for the record, and we ask that only one person speak at a time. There is, there is a 5-minute limit per caller. Please note that this is a public comment and comments by the council, mayor, or administrator will be at the end of the public comment section. At the end, no more calls will be accepted. Motion to open the public comment.
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Please click the link below. It's a Zoom call. The passcode is 571099, or on the iPhone, there's one tap. The link is on the website. Please visit the town's website to get the link also, just for informational purposes. Okay. Is there anyone, I see we have 3 attendees. Would anybody please raise your hand? Okay. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record. Mr. Ullman, I believe, thank you. You're unmuted. Thank you.
Yes, Michael Ullman, 2 Clark Avenue in the township. I just wanted to follow up on a response last week regarding the discussion on reclasses. And the first response from Administrator Tovo was to add a head count. I don't feel that that's really where we should be starting. There is a process of internal controls. It resides with the person raising the requisition, the people signing off on it, the people who are processing it, and the people who are approving it. And all of that needs to be tightened up before we should have a need to increase headcount. I strongly believe that there is a lack of internal controls, which is resulting in all of these misposted reclasses and unfound errors. And I don't think adding heads is the answer. The answer is having people who have responsibility for certain tasks, do those tasks properly. And if they're not, find people who will. We have a CFO, we have a director, we have department heads, we have processors. There's a lot of people involved and they should know what they're doing. That's my first comment. My second comment is, in looking at the budget for the police department, again, I don't understand how you can do a run rate budget when you have so many errors with the postings. If you look at page 72 in the detail and page 29 in the budget for mileage, there is a request for $5,000 based on, I'm assuming, a 5,000 actual from last year. If you happen to look at the details, the only mileage expense is $76. There is over $4,900 in systems expense, Dell marketing, MicroStrategies, Dark Computer. I don't understand how that is allowed to be. It's really beyond me. And then we're basing a run rate budget on that. So, I think it's crap in and I think it's crap out. I would also point out there's a few others. Some not as big, in miscellaneous, we have titles and plates for a DPW truck. On page 92 of the detail for sorry.
Hey, Stacy,
Miscellaneous?
I just got a text message from Heather that they can't hear us.
Okay, just hold on. Mr. Allman, do you mind just pausing for
Yeah,
1
I'm
minute?
sorry.
Okay, so I don't know what's going on.
See you guys and all, but there is no audio.
Hold on, I'm gonna put myself on mute. I'm just gonna call Ricky, okay? I'm sorry, Mr. Allman, do you
I could
mind?
hear you over the phone or over my Zoom.
I think
and I
they're
could-
talking about the television.
It might be
I
the
also
TV.
hear you on the
Television is
television.
working.
Okay, let me just,
Right.
I actually got 2 text messages also, so let me just, if we could just pause, Mr. Allman, if you don't mind?
Not at all.
Thank you. Okay, give me one. I just got 2 more text messages. They can't hear us. Hold on 1 second.
It must be Verizon because I could hear you on Cablevision.
I'm
Well,
on Fios. I hear you.
So YouTube is not working and maybe Cablevision isn't working. So one person from Cablevision just said it's not working. Hold on 1 second.
Cablevision is working.
Yes, someone else just texted me. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so Ricky just wants us to pause for a few minutes. He's going to reboot the live system and the YouTube system, and we should be okay. Just to let everybody know. Sorry, Mr. Ullman.
It's quite all right.
Yeah. They said they didn't hear anything from the beginning of the meeting. Right now, seeing. So she said TV has sound and computer and iPhones do not have sound.
Yeah, we're just gonna wait a minute. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't, the recording will be out there, so we will continue in a minute or two. Just waiting to see if I get a text back from Ricky. I don't know what's, going on. Okay, let's continue. Okay, Mr. Ullman, I'm so sorry about the delay.
All right.
Just to let you know, you're at 3 minutes,
Okay.
so you don't think I'm trying to cut you off.
Not at all. So I hope my comment on the mileage was noted. The only other large item, there are $25,000 in tree services in the OEM line for other miscellaneous expenses. $16,000 grinding of wood and brush. There's $2,200 for 713 Tulane and $6,800 for 802 Jacqueline. I would defer to the OEM, but I don't recall any large wind or weather events, and they are spread across the year. So I don't know why we're putting $25,000 in OEM for these types for tree services. Perhaps that can be discussed when you reach that point in the budget. But again, I would go back to my opening comment that this has nothing to do with headcount. This has everything to do with having a system of internal controls. Clearly, we don't. Clearly, we have a director of finance who has that responsibility. We have a CFO who has responsibility, and neither of them are living up to their responsibilities based on what is in the audit trail. Thank you.
Heather, you there?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
Nova 2464 Cleveland Avenue, Township of Washington. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to read a statement on behalf of my father, Arthur Cumming. As I end my time as an elected official in this community, I want to thank the voters that gave me the opportunity to serve you. Being your advocate is one of my most proudest accomplishments. The other is my family. My wife, Mary Ann, is an amazing woman who is a dedicated healthcare worker and a loving, intelligent, loyal partner through my life. My son, Scott, is a hardworking member of society despite his disabilities. My daughter, Heather, is a veteran, civil servant, and dedicated volunteer to our community and my biggest fan. Both my wife and my daughter were Girl Scouts and troop leaders. And as the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the Girl Scouts are a force to be reckoned with, and I'm fortunate to have them on my side in my time of need. To the men of our fire department, I respect your service and hope with the assistance of Councilman DeSedna, you are given a firehouse and tools to continue your service to our community. To our ambulance corps members, which I myself served on in Hackensack, thank you. Your dedication and compassion you provide to the residents and the Pascack Valley community is greatly appreciated. To the men of the Township Police Department, it has been a pleasure to know you personally and professionally. Your integrity and dedication to the oath to protect and serve, even during times when you were spoken ill of or lack of gratitude was shown, you continued to serve and never wavered, and I thank you. All of our town employees, from the DMF to the men and women in Borough Hall, have made me extremely proud with your dedication and professionalism during these hard times. To the mayor and councilmen and councilwomen who have helped make history, the clerk and the administrator, it was a pleasure and honor to work with you and make a difference in our community. To our young people and to my grandchildren, Gina and AJ, empower yourself with good role models and a good education. Then carry on and make a difference in our country and community. And treat people with respect and compassion, even if you don't agree with them. Thank you, everyone, and I hope I made my supporters and my family proud. Arthur Cumming. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Heather. He's in our prayers. My prayers, at least.
Stacy, you're muted.
Is there anyone else on the line?
I don't see any other hands up, Stacy.
Okay, motion to close public comment portion.
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, Mr. Tovo, did you happen to follow up with Mr. Corcoran if this is a run rate budget or not a run rate budget?
It is not a run rate budget. It's a top-down budget. I'll reiterate what I said last week. We've identified these issues. We understand that there's a coding issue. We are working to fix it. It's one of his top priorities. But our biggest difficulty is just having enough people to actually do that. Bills have to be processed pretty quickly through purchasing. With only one person there to do it, things get missed. And contrary to the points brought out by one of the residents, we do follow our internal controls as closely as we can, but there are things that occasionally do get missed.
Okay. I'm sure Chief Skinner can also answer the questions when we go through the budget regarding the items that were questioned by Mr. Ullman. Did Ms. Chief Skinner, is that fair to say?
Yes, I can explain everything that was in the line item, and I do understand Mr. Ullman's issue about how it's coded.
Okay.
Ms. Feeney, to clarify the question on tree removal, that's a result of the tropical storm that we had back in August.
That's right. We did have Isaias in August, correct?
Correct. And the money was taken from OEM because that's where the money would be refunded to from state and federal OEM or FEMA.
Yeah, so that's good to be aware, just so all the council members remember we did have that big tropical storm that took down the trees across town. And I mean, I lost power. I'm sure a lot of people did. I think Councilman DeSena, you lost power
It was a very long
too.
cleanup process.
Yeah. So. Okay. Again, I just want to wish Councilman Cumming all the best and speedy recovery. And I hope your family's doing better. Again, my husband and I have offered our services in any way possible since we live so close. So please reach out and let us know. I'm going to open the floor up. Vice President Morgan.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment to Heather. That was beautiful. Please let your father know that my family will keep him in prayer, keep your family in prayer. speedy recovery. And we are here as a council always, of course, but as friends also. So please reach out. And that's it. Just wishing you the best.
Thank you. Councilman Casio?
Yes, regarding Art, I've worked with a lot of council people over the years, being on the council for almost 10 years now. And Art and I, we see a lot alike together. And when we had our differences, we were always respectful and we recognized those differences. And Art has always been a gentleman. And I appreciate his guidance at times and his seniority in a good way. And I will miss working with him. And I wish him the best of everything. Thank you, Mr. Cummings. We will miss you, or I will miss you. I can speak for myself. Thank you.
Yes, me too. He was a mentor for me also in this position. Councilman DeSena?
Mr. Cumming, you will be truly missed. It's been a privilege to sit on the dais with you for the past 3 years.
Michael, can you speak up, please?
It's been a privilege to sit on the dais and have you as a friend for the past 3 years or more. Be proud of the family you have and the advocacy you've done through the years and everything you do every day for your family. Please be strong and Godspeed. Thank you.
Mr. Tova, do you have any additional comments?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We're moving on to 2021 budget. Police Department. Everybody ready to go? Anybody need a minute? No? Okay.
Starting on page 27, Stacy?
I'm sorry, say that again, Sue?
Page 27?
Yes. Sorry. Okay, so we're really on the top of page 27. Chief Skinner, you're up.
Okay, so I don't know if you want me to just go line by line and then, say what the number is. But starting with the first line, police salaries, other than the chief's salary, I actually do want to reduce that number. We talked about this back in October. We were kind of hoping that, at this point in the year, we'd be a little farther along with the progression of COVID. So, we had talked about possibly adding officers. I do want to drop that line item now back down to $2,671,000. So,
Is that the contractual on there, Rich, for that number?
essentially, Steve, if you look in years past, we always go a little above contractual, just in case there's an officer that leaves and we hire another one or a promotion. But yeah, we're right, right where we want to be. We're actually slightly below where we projected last year. And again, I wasn't as involved in that number. Now we are. So we're running them through the POS system, which gives everybody salaries. So that would be.
Rich,
go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
For 2021, you have a 2.4% salary increase. I know you just asked for a reduction, but right now we're showing a 10.85% increase in your overall budget. Is there a justification for that?
Well, as far as overall budget, I could say this for police salaries, we're looking at a 2.25% raise for the PBA, and then we have several officers who are in steps, so they get a step raise. In other words,
Yeah, that's why I had averaged it to 2.4, But right now, the way the budget was presented, we're looking at a 10.58% increase from 2020. So I know
But
you,
Councilman DeSena, let's go through line by line because we already have this initial reduction.
Well,
that is
So
the
if
line.
we-
That is
But
the
yeah, but he just went from 2690 from last year to 2671. So that does bring that down.
But you're talking, it's 240, the requested is 240,000 increase.
Uh-huh.
So what's the increase for 2021 as
So are you
opposed to
talking about the budgeted? Are you talking about the 2690 to the
No,
2671?
I'm talking about the
Talking about the actual.
2454.
So
I
your
look at
actual,
actuals. I don't really look at.
so
what-
that's
what's
why
asked
I'm
for.
asking the question so that the public knows what numbers we're
Well,
referencing. I
Here's-
understand.
Here's the question. He's asking for 240,000 more than was actually spent last year. Now he's reducing that to 260. 260 what? 261, right?
2.671.
Okay.
Right. So, and that's a difference of, it's $216,341.19 from 2,454,659.
Basically, my question is this: is that going to be another? And again, we're just going off the history of actuals. The first year back in 2016, it was overspent by. We
That's
over budgeted
8%.
32,000. We over budgeted 50,000 in 17, 56,000 in 18. In 19, we over budgeted just roughly almost 100 and almost 120 in 2020. So I like keeping those numbers close to the actual spend. So how close can we get to the actual spend this year, Rich, to get that number down? That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so, every year, as far as I've done this, just for the last two, with former Chief Hooper, we've always gone a little above that in case there is some type of new hiring or promotion. So, I mean, we're probably, right, exactly, we're $48,000 above full contractual, everybody getting their raise without any other thing thrown in there. We did want to start a discussion later in the year about the possibility of a promotion or a new hire. If none of those things happen, then we're there's some room there.
So the 2.45 actual spend to the 2671 is actually 8%.
8.8%.
Okay, so are we looking to
Actually,
hire
no, I'm
someone?
sorry, Councilman DeSena, it's 8.1%. Exactly.
Okay, are we looking to
Yeah, I
hire
have it in
someone
Excel.
this year and expand the force, Rich? Or are we
So
looking
that's something that I'd like to have a discussion about after budget. Originally, when we put out that first number, we were going to come and ask you for 2 police officers. I think for COVID reasons, I don't think I want to do that. What I want to do is come and speak to you about the TO. Now, the TO
Well,
itself.
let me ask you this question. Why?
Please, Councilman Casio, please let Chief Skinner finish.
Okay, no, listen, okay. So, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is I'm going to ask at some point this year that we do hire another police officer. That would be part of a larger discussion in the table of organization ordinance, which there's going to be a lot to talk about when we get to TO, because there's ranks in the TO that no longer exist. In our current table of organization, we have the rank of detective, which was eliminated. We have a first sergeant rank, which we were going to talk about getting rid of that. Corporal is in there, and now corporal is a recognized rank in the PBA contract. So I think we can get into a giant discussion, but essentially here, what we're looking to do is have the possibility of hiring a second officer sometime towards the end of the year. We have currently 5 officers that are at retirement age or higher. So we're trying to plan ahead.
Okay, I guess my question is this: are we increasing the overall number of police officers in the Township of Washington from its current strength?
I would like to increase it by 1, but again, I think that's a discussion for down the road. But yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
So that number, I'm sorry, that number includes the potential for that, yes?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay, and just so everyone's aware, from the year before, the 2397962 to the 2.510 is 4.48% difference. It's $112,000. So there's not huge increases. There's a roughly between a 4 to 8% on average across all the years. So, and then you're bringing it down $19,000 from the ask, correct?
Actually, we took 50 off the ask. We went from 2721 to
Right,
2671.
Oh, no, it was going from the 2671 to the 2690 from 2020.
Right, but in 2021, he even knocked it down further because initially
Yeah.
they thought they were going to need more. So I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
I'm okay with that too.
Rich, can we get the actual breakdown of all the payroll for each person with the 2.25 and the adjustments so we could see it, so we can make an informed decision of all this? You know, it's a big line item, you know, the budget.
No,
the way
it is a big line item.
the way,
Sure.
the way it was presented, you know, in the report, we were looking at a 10.85. You brought it down to an 8. It's still a huge increase based on contractually. We should be in the 2.25 to 2.4 range. We're still looking at 8.1. So if we could have the breakdown of this line item, so we can make
Do we
a.
have-
I guess what I'm asking.
Contractually, do we have any negotiation room, or contractually with the PBA, this is what it is for the upcoming year?
No, yeah, contractually, you're already under contract with the PBA, so there should be
Correct.
no contractual changes.
So we could take everybody in the TO, add the 2.25 to it and the step to it, and come up with what the 2025 numbers should be. At least then the council can make an informed decision of what it actually should be, because the 8% numbers and the 10.85 numbers are, you know, we're, you know,
Well,
that's.
he did explain that he is planning
Yeah.
on trying to bring another police officer, and I think we should put this to a vote. So I'd like to make a motion to vote on the 2671 for the salary line.
I disagree. I think we can't make an informed decision without the information I just requested.
I understand, but I did call for a vote, so
That's
we
fine,
can
Mrs.
actually, and since it is contractual and he has explained the fact that he's going for an additional officer, I think a vote is warranted since the explanation is there. Contractually, we're obligated to go based on what the contracts say, the negotiation
we
with the
should
PBA. So then let's have a vote, Sue.
So Mrs. Feeney, what you're saying is that we should take the 2020 number, add 2.25 to it, add
He
65,000.
said there's steps in there too, Councilman DeSena.
So make it 2.4. It's going to be a
But you
lot less
don't-
than
you
December
don't-
requested.
You don't
That's
actually.
the contract.
Councilman DeSena, I actually asked for a vote.
Go ahead, Mrs. Feeney.
Need a motion in a second, please.
I'll make a motion. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Councilman Casio,
No,
Councilman DeSena,
No.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
and Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, the number stands at 267100.
Do you want me to go line by line, or do you want to?
Yeah, so let's go, I guess the next one would be overtime.
Okay, so for overtime for 2021, we're asking for 100,000. Last year, we budgeted 160. We spent a little over 88,000 on overtime. And I think we did well with that. You know, part of that, of course, was the 12-hour shifts. Also, you know, with COVID, we were lucky. We were very fortunate. We didn't have any serious illnesses. So I think that, you know, I think we did well with that 88,000 budget number. Keeping in mind, we didn't really make a lot of arrests last year during COVID. So that's why I'm asking for the 100,000, is that I still think we can come under that 100,000 a little bit, but, you know, I don't want to short myself if we have a busy year or if somebody does have a big illness.
Okay, Councilman Casio, any discussion?
that number from overtime, what are we talking in general overtime entails? Are we talking when there's a crisis, or is that more of transporting down to the county and the shift work?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
The majority,
I can
Rich.
give you a breakdown. So, you know, overtime is generally generated off of arrests or off of sick time are probably our two biggest causes for overtime. We have reduced sick time. There's training costs sometimes that incur overtime. And we also cover vacation. So if officers want to take comp time or other time off, then it can't cause overtime. But if they take vacation, they will be replaced with overtime.
And our scheduling's pretty good with the with vacation time these days.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what we've spent in years past, we spent $207,000 on overtime in 2016. We
Right.
spent $274,000 in 17, 240, 165 in 2019. I think a big part of that was better management and some sick time reduction. And at 88,000, 88 and change, it's an all-time low since I've been here for an overtime rate. I'd like to tell you I can give you that number again, but I'd like to have a little wiggle room. If I lose a cop for a major injury, then that can make a big difference.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
Councilman DeSena, any discussion on overtime?
Mr. Skinner, that number is really about 53,000, correct, Chief Skinner? Because we transferred out 35,000 to another line item. So you only spent 53,000. So
yeah, I believe part of that was transferred to the vacation buyback, which we kind of ran out of money on that one and transferred money too.
So if we look at that item, if we look at line, 2524120, you really only spent about 50,000. So would you be comfortable knocking that down any?
I'd rather not if it's something that it needs to be done. Overtime sometimes is just not a constant. I'd like to tell you that we're going to start to have some of those transports down to the county that Steve spoke about. Things were slow this year, and we were very fortunate with COVID.
Okay.
Councilwoman Morgan, any discussion or with the 100,000 for overtime?
No, I think that it's been explained. And I can see that we need to have the money in there should the need arise. So otherwise we're going to be borrowing from one to pay that again. So I prefer to just leave it as is.
I agree. I think that it's been explained and I think we should leave it as is. So let's put it to a vote. Sue?
So do you want to do a motion in a second?
Okay, may I have a motion on overtime?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Sue?
Councilman Casio?
Yep.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Feeney, on line 110, it's a decrease in the line item. You need 3 affirmative votes for passage.
Then it stands at 2.721.
That's not what you called for a motion for.
Okay, so let's have a motion on the amount of, that's on line 1 of 2.721 million then. Sue, roll call. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait,
There was a situation, I sent you something with, if there's a tie vote, that it remains the same.
yeah, it just remains the same for the
But as a
2.7.
budget item and not for
Right,
a new item?
Right, it just remains the
we
same
asked
for the
for a
2 points.
Yep.
No, it doesn't matter. If whatever the amount that's proposed, Councilman DeSena, if there's a split vote, the amount reverts back to the original amount on the line. So right now it stands at the 2.721.
I hope you
And that's what Ken Poller has advised and he checked the
I
regulations.
hope you guys are willing to accept the 10.85 increase in that line item.
Well, actually, I put a vote for 2.671, so I was good with an 8.1% increase, and so was Councilwoman Morgan. So just to be clear on that, we voted for the decreased amount that Chief Skinner recommended. So moving on.
Let's go back. Can we go back to discuss that, please?
You already, okay, whatever.
The 2.671, can we agree to that?
Okay, to keep the meeting moving, we're going to go to crossing guards, which is a 1% increase. Right? So requested was from 2020 to 2021 was 1%, used 65,685 prior year. So let's see what this looks like.
Yes, so crossing guard salaries for general crossing guard every day should be about 65,169. Generally, if we have a Memorial Day parade, we would throw another 3504 in there. Summer rec, should it run, would be about another $3,824. So, you know, that crossing guard number reflects what we would need for crossing guards, and the plan was to give them a 1.5% raise like the rest of the town. I would, I guess, address that when we get to salary ordinance in the future. The crossing guards didn't actually get a salary increase, so I would just give them the standard 1.5 if that's possible. And that, of course, that number can fluctuate if whether we run town rec, summer rec, or we don't run summer rec. I haven't received a word on that definitively.
Yeah, we haven't received the word on that either, so.
Rich, are we using SLEOs in any of those positions?
So one of our SLEOs does perform a crossing guard function for 2 hours of his day.
Right.
And, you know, you'll see when we get to the SLEOs, we traditionally would use right now 2 SLEOs. The crossing guard post at Washington School can't solely be done by a crossing guard because there's full-on traffic direction, which has to be done by a SLEO officer or higher, not a crossing guard. So yeah, 2 hours a day, Steve, the SLEO is up there. At Washington School post, the one at the top of the hill by the school,
Right.
it's manned by both, by 1 SLEO and 1 crossing guard.
Okay.
That's
Mr.
very
Skinner,
busy
did we receive reimbursement from the CARES Act for the crossing guards for last year, since school was virtual for most of the year and you know, we didn't have children crossing in those locations? Did we file a claim with CARES Act?
Mike, I don't know. The CARES Act would have been filed through OEM, so I don't know if Mr. Tovo knows, but I don't have an answer to your question.
Because I know a lot of our surrounding towns included the crossing guards with the CARES Act. Mr. Tovo, do we have an answer for that?
Mr. Councilman DeSena, I'm just curious, since you had that information, did you happen to pass it along to anybody in the administration?
It's not, I'm passing it along right now, Mrs. Feeney.
So, but you didn't pass it along prior, correct? Just so that the administrations were aware.
Yes, I did.
Who did you pass it along to?
I asked Mr. Tovo for, I asked for all the CARES Act submissions that were made, and I've received none to date.
No, but did you pass along the information about
I
that
asked
prior?
for the receipt of all the CARES Act submission to date, and I've received none to date, Mrs. Feeney.
Okay, sorry, that wasn't the question I asked, but thank you very
That
much
is the
for the
answer.
same response.
Ms. Feeney, I received no such request for that information from anyone, but I will check to see if that number was submitted under the CARES Act.
Thank you, Mr. Tovo. So the crossing guards, do we want to wait till we get to salaries, or do we want to do this now?
I'm okay with it.
I don't want to start a problem, but I think the crossing guard salary is pretty straight up.
I agree. Councilman Casio, would you like to discuss, or are you good with the number?
No, as long as we're using the SLEOs effectively there, and that's a salaried position, correct, Rich? The SLEO?
Yes, it is.
Or is that an hourly? Okay. As long as they're being
Well,
effective.
Steve, just to be clear, so I'm not giving you misinformation, we currently have a full-time SLEO, which is a salaried position.
Right.
Previous, we had 1 full-time and 1 part-time.
One part-time.
Part-timer would be an hour. Right now, with the shortened school hours, we're not using a part-timer. We haven't hired them. I would say when school starts up again and is on a full schedule, which I really hope comes in September, that would facilitate the need for actual 2 SLEOs, the part-timer on a limited basis, because one of the SLEOs is going to be at Westwood High School directing traffic at the exact same time the other SLEO is at Washington School.
Okay.
In the morning, the SLEO can cover the high school, then go to Washington. In the afternoon, those posts run simultaneous, so we use 2.
Okay. So just going back to, I know this gets a little confusing. So when you anticipate school reopening and hiring the officers up in your first salary line, is that where that's going to come out of? Or is it going to come out of another line for SLEOs somewhere?
Well, we do have another line for SLEOs, which we'll get to.
Okay. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Skinner, you're comfortable with the 72. You don't think you need more if summer rec happens, do you?
That's, the way we run the numbers, it's tight, but that should be doable.
Okay, I just want to confirm if you needed more, then we should ask for more. Okay.
Okay. Maybe later?
I'm okay with that number, 72,000. So I'm
I'm
good
okay with it also.
Okay, should I just go to the next line then?
No, just wait. I'm just waiting for Councilwoman Morgan to
I
unmute.
apologize.
No, that's okay. I'm just trying to give everybody a chance to get their opinion in.
Hey,
Are you good with the 72,000 for the crossing guards?
yeah, I thought I said yes before. Yes.
Okay, so no vote required where everybody is saying, so we have 4 yeses. Okay, vacation buyback, 58,000.
Okay.
Rich?
So if you look, last year we budgeted 40,000. We went over that and had to transfer money in there. Last year was a unique year. Officers really couldn't take vacation a lot with COVID. And we're for the first 2 months of this year, we're kind of looking at that also. I haven't seen vacation. So, traditionally vacation buyback has fluctuated and it really depends on how much time officers take off. They are allowed to sell a portion of that vacation back. So we were at 40,000. We did exceed that. And, I'm asking for 58,000. I believe we went over by about 17 or 18,000 on that.
Mr. Tova, how come the line doesn't reflect that, the actual?
When this report was run, those numbers had not been posted to the system yet.
Do you know what the actual number is?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay.
If you'll see, vacation buyback is something that fluctuates.
Yeah.
I got caught short this year with the vacation buyback number. I don't want to see that happen again. But I'll leave that up to you guys.
So a lot of this is COVID related, Rich, that people couldn't take vacations because of the craziness of the COVID world last year.
Right. And, the other thing too is that, when guys have vacation, they contractually, they can either sell it back or they can carry it. And I would venture to say that.
How much they can sell back, Rich?
So contractually, they're allowed to sell back up to half of what they have total vacation. So for example, if an officer's maxed out at 25 vacation days, he could sell up to 12 and a half days back.
Okay.
Now, when I say days, I'm talking 8s. I'm still kind of in that 8-hour strategy. So let's, if you wanted to break that down to hours, 8 times 12 is the hours they could sell back. I mean, for what it's worth, we underspent on personal day buyback, So when we get down to that line item, you'll see that.
So I think does anybody have any issues with the 58,000 or do I have 4 yeses?
So I'm just looking at the actual audit trail.
I don't think it's
And-
complete from what I'm
Well-
seeing.
I'm looking at, there's 40,000 in there, and then the 7,300 went in, and then 73 went out in payroll. Is that what I'm looking at?
It's
Was
like
that
a reclass. Mr.
So
Tovo, do you happen to know if that would be a reclass? Is on page 68 of the audit trail?
Well, it was a reclass. We took some money from their overtime budget to cover the vacation buyback, and I think it was just a vacation buyback, but that number sounds like it's pretty close.
and where did that money go? The 7,300?
That went out or went in?
Well, it looks like it went and then went out. Was adjusted from payroll? So the total cost for the buyback was 47.3, right? And we were short 7,300. So did we get that 7,300 from the general payroll, from salaries and others?
Yeah, we took that from police overtime.
Police
And then it
overtime.
would have gone back
That's what
out to the
Chief-
payroll.
That's what Chief Skinner just said too.
That's what he,
That's what Skinner just said.
Okay. All right.
Okay, do we have 4 yeses on the 58,000 or no? Okay, Sue, I'm making a motion to vote on the number that was submitted, the 58,000. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, personal day buyback, Chief Skinner?
Okay, so the next line item is the personal day buyback, and as you'll see, the officers sold back vacation probably in lieu this year of selling back their personal time. So, personal time buyback has been somewhere between 3,700, 2,600, 3,100. In 2019, everybody sold back their personal days, so we're looking at $5,200. So we're asking for the same as last year, 4,500. I'm recognizing that we did not spend that whole 4,500 last year. It really just depends what days they choose to sell back.
So you think because of COVID then that they used their personal days, they didn't sell them back?
Personal days were used, and per PBA contract, they may have held them to the last minute and then carried them
Forward.
I think they were probably used at that point. I mean, we're coming off an unprecedented year. I don't really know exactly. We definitely took a lot less vacation time, so we sold a lot more back. We're probably looking to take some personal days to get things together.
Okay, does anyone have an issue with the 4,500 for the personal day buyback?
No.
Okay, do we have 4 yeses? Just everybody, yes, good to go. Okay, so we have 4 yeses on 4,500. Okay.
I didn't hear a roll.
Well, I didn't call for a vote. I asked, is everybody okay with it? Are we good to go?
No, you said we had 4 yeses. I say no.
Okay, so
So there's 3 yes.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for the vacation buyback at $4,500. May I have a motion?
A motion,
I'll
Second,
second. Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
No.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, sick day payout. Chief Skinner.
Okay, so, you can follow the 5-year trend there. Last year, we asked for 38,000 in sick time buyback, sick time payout, we should call it, really. They're selling their time back, we're buying it. We're asking for that same 38,000 again. We did spend 31,609. We did have a few officers that used sick time, but sick time was generally well controlled this year.
Okay, Councilman Councilman Casio, any discussion on this?
Yeah. Why do you attribute that the sick time payout is controllable? Is that a function of something in the department?
So,
Or is that with Pittman?
here's the thing: if you're buying their sick time back, it's actually a good thing because you're not paying overtime for a guy who was out sick. So what happens is, if an officer, as you know, we have the unlimited sick policy. If an officer doesn't take any sick days, he gets 5 days pay at the end of the year.
Right.
If he gets charged a half a day off of that for sick time. So if he were out 2 days, he would be able to sell 4 days back. So, it's a number where.
So it's working is what I'm asking, right?
Yeah, exactly. I believe it's working. Thanks.
Okay. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Councilman DeSena?
It shows that, in January 31st of 2020, we paid out 35,000. So is that when everybody is due their sick day payout, Mr.?
Yeah, we can't actually calculate it till the year is over.
So
if you
that's,
paid it
I'm just
before that, and
confirming
you
that
filled out.
payout was when it happened.
Right.
Okay, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay, and I'm okay with it too. Sue, I'll make a motion to vote on the 38,000. I'll make a motion. I need a second, please.
So move.
Do roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. Chief Skinner, Records Clerk, you're up.
Okay, so, yep, last year we paid our records clerk $42,000. If we gave her a 1.5% raise, that would get her to 42,630.
Okay, I'm good with it. Councilwoman Morgan, it's a 1.5% increase?
Yes, that's what the rest of the town employees are getting as well, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Well,
Well, this is the
That's the
first one we're
plan.
doing, so.
we talked about it before, just a couple minutes ago. So yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with it.
Councilman Casio?
We talked about a 1.5% increase across the board.
Well, we're talking about this specific position right this second.
Chief mentioned that 1.5, like everyone else. I think he was referring to the crossing guards. So that was my reference.
Are the crossing guards salaried employees?
They're hourly, Steve.
They're hourly. That's right. Okay. So right now, I'm going to make a statement. I think that we should put a freeze on raises at this point going across the board for salaried employees. So I'm going to hold to the no increase over last year's salaries.
Councilman DeSena, do you have any, are you good with the 42,630 or any discussion?
I have some questions on this. Mr. Chief Skinner, is the same person held this job from January 2020 to, January 2019 to January 2020?
Yes.
Mr. Tovo, in September of last year, this person received a pay raise. How come?
I don't recall them receiving any pay raise. They had their initial starting salary, and that carried forward until raises were given, would be given this year.
Well, this person earned the same exact amount, and her salary, or his salary, I don't know who it is, should have been divided by 26 equal pay periods.
Yeah.
And in September of last year, this person received a $234 increase in salary every payroll, as shown on page 68 of the budget transaction audit trail.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Mike, does that have something to do with, that was when the budget ordinance was passed, so all the employees kind of got a raise at that time? I don't know.
This is September it happened, Chief Skinner.
Chief Skinner, could it have something to do with benefits?
I don't know. I can tell you this. I can tell you that the current salary is 42,000,
2,000.
and I'm asking for 42,630. So I'm asking for an employee to receive a $630 raise.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
So could we just wait 1 second? Okay, so they went from 1516 to 1778 is what you're saying.
1750, yes, Ms. Feeney.
I don't recall when the salary ordinance was passed last year, but it was pretty late. You sure that wasn't September?
You could have,
I'm asking, I don't,
Just wait.
Mr. Tova, I don't know the answer to that. So if that's the case, can you get back to us on that?
Yeah.
okay, well, let's
That's
just
the only
wait and
person-
see. Let's just
That's
wait
the only
and see. So
person I
we've got,
see that's gotten that kind of increase through the year. Everybody else kind of matched the 26 pay periods. But this one person shows an increase, that's all.
so 17.
That's what I think. That's for sure.
Salary ordinance was adopted August 17th, effective September 10th.
Yeah, I'm just adding up all the salary payments. Hold on 1 second.
So that's it.
That's it then, okay. That's fine.
That's it, 1750. Just wait, I'm just checking the math to make sure everybody's comfortable. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
6. Right?
As long as we're
1, 2,
saying
3,
thank
4.
yous, I'd like to thank Captain John Calamari, who's off camera in the room, but he realized that was a salary increase, in line with the salary ordinance. So
It's 10.5.
thanks, John.
While you're doing that, Stacy,
Yeah, that equals the 42,000. So if you take all of that amounts of money that fall in in the audit trail, that's the $42,000.
Okay.
So, okay, so are we good with the?
He was a new hire?
No, is there since 2019, correct, Chief Skinner?
Yes.
Okay.
excuse me,
Or
Stacy,
he or she, sorry, yeah.
Ricky has sent a message saying that if anyone who is watching the original live stream needs to refresh their browser and go to the new live stream if they're having an issue.
Okay,
Thank
all right,
you.
haven't gotten any more text messages, so that's good. Okay, so we're on to, this is 42,000, we're going to 42,630, which is a 1.5% increase. Do we, I'll make a motion for a vote. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
No.
Councilman DeSena,
No.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay.
So it should stay at the 42,630.
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
Okay, Director of Public Safety, it's the 1250 stands as the year before. Do we have to have a discussion or is everybody good?
I'm good.
Fine.
Okay, let's take a vote anyway, just to I'd rather be really sure instead of not sure. I'll make a motion. May I have a second for the 1250 for Director of Public Safety?
I'll second.
Second.
Do roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, on to Sergeant Differential. Chief Skinner, we're on page 28 at the top now.
Yep. So Sergeant Differential is when a uniformed sergeant is not on the tour, the officer that's running the tour basically gets sergeant's pay for the day. It's contractual now. And again, if you look at the history, 10,000, 11,000, 14,000, 14,000. Last year was 11,416. We budgeted 13,000 the last 2 years. We're asking for 13,000. Again, it's a number that's going to fluctuate.
Okay, so based on, so you're asking the same as 2020, but if you went from actual to now, it is a 14% increase. So, but you're comfortable since it's contractual that this is what it should be at?
Yeah, we budgeted in 2019, we budgeted 13,000 and it actually went up to 14,115.
Right.
Rich,
Vice-
this is gonna be
Vice President,
less
I'm sorry,
because it's
Councilman
Pittsburgh, right?
Casio. I'm sorry, Councilman Casio. Just wait your turn, please. Vice President Morgan, do you have any discussion on this?
No, it makes sense. They went over twice, actually. They went over in 2018, they went over in 2019. They're just a little under in 2020. It's very much at the average.
Okay, Councilman Casio?
Yeah, Rich, this number is going to be probably a little bit less because of the Pittman, right? Because we're scheduling that tour with the full squad, correct? So it should theoretically go down.
Every tour starts with a uniformed sergeant.
Right.
However, if that sergeant takes vacation or for some reason is reassigned, then we do pay the officer who's in charge that day sergeant's pay contractually.
Right, but theoretically, since it's a full tour, it's a full squad, it should go down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome.
Councilman DeSena?
Chief Skinner, in the previous years, we weren't in the Pittman platoon squad with Dr. Casio just said. So theoretically, we should see some more savings this year like we did last year based on the Pittman schedule.
I would say that the Pittman schedule may save you that money. There are other factors in there. Sergeants are receiving a little more training thanks to the Pittman schedule than they used to. Yeah, I'm aware of that. So the other thing is, we have two shifts, nights and days. Sergeant Fasciano is also our OEM director. So there were shifts last year where we took him off of his midnight shift and put him on a day shift to serve an OEM function, which was applying for things like the CARES Act. So those are the kind of things that aren't tangible. If a sergeant breaks his leg and he's out for 2 months, then I got to pay somebody to cover sergeant's pay for that. So yeah, Steve, I'm not going to disagree with you that the number should come down, but again, this is
Things happen.
a COVID year, another COVID year. Yeah, it's
Okay.
How many sergeant differentials in the squad currently?
well, we have 4 squads and they each have a sergeant. So whenever that sergeant takes off, either for vacation, for training, for injury, or in this case, when he's been reassigned to OEM, just to get him off of a nighttime shift to a day shift. So, essentially there's a contractual number on that, and I don't want to quote it. I can pull the contract up and tell you what the hourly difference is. I know it's somewhere over $5 an hour.
It's a difference of $1,583.71 from actual of last year to budgeted for this year. So it's $1,500 roughly difference.
We were using the Pittman schedule last year, so that is pretty accurate. That's really not a big increase at all.
So let's put it to a vote. I'll make a motion. Need a second, please?
A second.
Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. Chief Skinner, moving on to special officers.
Okay, so for our SLEOs, again, in a fully operational world, we are looking at 1 full-time and 1 part-time SLEO. Right now, we are only employing 1 full-time. We are probably going to have to hire a part-timer before September, hopefully maybe over the summer to supplement summer. So, we did the 85,000 ask, which would be full price for having 1.5 SLEOs essentially.
So Chief Skinner, last year, so you had 2 SLEOs last year. Was one of the SLEOs hired?
Yep. So one of the SLEO officers was hired as a full-time police officer. They did go for SLEO waiver training. They receive additional training, and then we send all to the police training commission. They become a fully sworn officer.
Okay, so then the other SLEO still is now the full-time SLEO.
Right.
Correct.
And what we did was we didn't replace the part-timer because of COVID. We felt we didn't need it.
Okay, and then the reason the SLEO was converted to a full-time officer is you had an open position?
That's correct.
So it wasn't an increase in headcount?
It was not.
Okay. So part of this is going to be the potential replacement of your headcount. Okay, so this is not a new headcount.
Yeah, and I can anticipate a question. I would think that I'm already 2 months in where I haven't paid a full part-timer, so I think there is something that can be done. I would venture to say though that if this number gets cut and next year we're back, God willing, in a non-COVID world, that number is going to have to go right back up to the 85, and then maybe a small percent increase.
So your recommendation right now is to leave it at the 85, or are you making a different recommendation?
My recommendation is to leave it at the 85, but I think there'll be discussion.
Okay. Councilwoman Morgan? Council, when you have a chance.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay, no, it's okay. Just want to I didn't know if you heard me, that's all.
No, I heard you. No discussion. I'm good.
Okay. Councilman Casio?
So Rich, what is the annual cost of a full-time SLEO? So I get an idea. Now he's paid.
His annual salary right now is $52,000.
And that's an hourly rate, or is that That's
Well,
calculated.
it's $25 an hour. He works a 40-hour work week.
Gotcha. Okay.
The part-timer generally would work about 20 hours, but when there's events and stuff like that, we use them a little bit more. And that's how we kind of get to the 85.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're roughly, just if I work the math out, you're doing roughly about 30,000 for the part-time SLEO.
Yeah.
Okay. Just sorry, Councilman Bissett, I just was asking that. Do you have any discussion?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's have any additional discussion? Anybody else have any questions?
Can we reduce this number, Rich, at all?
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you this now. I believe we can reduce this for this year. And then I believe in 22, it's going to have to go back up to that 85. I would be comfortable on this with 60,000. I just don't want to start a thing where you guys can't vote on it now because I've reduced it.
60,000 would only cover your one.
If I offer to reduce and you don't want to take my reduction, then I'm just going to ask for the amount that I originally asked for.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll take your reduction.
So is the 60 only for the one full-time SLEO then, and then you won't have a second replacing your head count?
Well, I'll tell you this before I speak out of turn. So let me just run something up here. 52,000.
Sure, take all the time you need. That's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, by the time we hire this SLEO, and I can't give you an exact hire date, if we call it 65, then that makes me comfortable. I'm sorry I said 60, but I would say 65,000 allows me to hire that other part-timer at some point in through the year.
So mid-June, July, you're looking at then probably.
I hope so. Yeah.
All right, so you're making the recommendation for 60,000 for the line.
65.
65,000. Okay, so let's put it to a vote. I'm going to call a motion for 65,000. May I have a second?
Second.
Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, so a reduction at 20,000. Okay, stipends.
Okay, so yeah, let me speak on stipends because I am going to actually reduce that. So right now we have 4 corporals that get a stipend, and new with the newer contract, which took place in 2019. In 2020 now, we don't pay a detective as a rank. He gets a $1,500 stipend. Now, that $1,500 stipend should have come out of here, and if you added the $1,400, which is the corporals, we would have paid $2,900. What I wanted to do, there was some discussion of raising the stipend for the corporals. So right now, the corporals, when they make corporal, they get a $350 raise. I made corporal in 2005, and I got a 2003, and I got a $350 raise. The point is, it costs more than that to sew the new stuff on their uniform. We were planning on giving them the raise. However, after speaking with Captain Calamari, again, John helps me on a lot of these things. We actually added the corporal stipend to the PBA contract. So at this point, I wouldn't want to change the ordinance to raise the stipend. That should be something that would be negotiated in the PBA contract. So I'd like to bring that $43,000 ask back down to, $4,300 ask back down to $2,900. And I did speak to Mr. Topol about that today.
Okay, so do we need to have discussion, or based on the explanation, we can have a vote?
I'm ready to vote.
You're
Reduce it to
reducing it by
$1,400?
$1,400.
The 2,900.
He's reducing it to 2,900. He's reducing it to 2,900 based on the explanation he just gave.
And that 2,900 is a contractual obligation.
That's fine.
Okay, let's have a vote. So I'm making a motion for 2,900 per Chief Skinner's recommendation. Thank you. And Sue, roll call?
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Desiree.
Desiree.
Thank you. Councilman Casio,
Yep.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, I would speak on the chief's salary line item. That is a contractual number, and I say we give it to him.
So this was part of your contract negotiations. So since this is part of your contract, I have no further discussion. Vice President Morgan?
No, I have no discussion. It's in his contract.
Yeah. Councilman Casio?
Yes, Rich, it's in your contract. You know, I would vote not to give you a contract. You know my opinion on that, but since you got it, congratulations. Enjoy. Take me out to dinner once. I'm good.
Thank you. I will take that on a positive note, Steve. Thank you.
Yes, after you retire, take me out to dinner.
Councilman DeSena?
No comment.
Okay. We're going to put this to a vote just to have it clear. I'll make a motion for the 199,000. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Abstain.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so I believe we're going to line item 240-210, office supplies.
Yes. How many folders can you buy? Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So 3489.39 from last year. I'm good with the 3,500. It's in line.
Good.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Casio?
Yep.
Councilman DeSena?
Yep.
Okay. Subscriptions and books, $1,000. You spent 512 last year. Chief Skinner?
Yep. So we allocated 1,000. We spent 512. We did get an electronic subscription to those books as well as 2 paper books. We also bought some business cards. We bought those for the command staff, and then we bought generalized business cards for the patrol officers. So in other words, it doesn't have their actual name on it. They have to write it on there. This year, I'd like to keep that 1,000, and this year I'll buy the actual business cards for the officers with their name on them instead of having to handwrite it.
You gonna do the playing cards again, the trading cards?
Yeah, so we're still doing the cop card program. However, that's mostly been covered by donations.
Okay.
There's a sponsor on the back of each card.
Yeah, if you're looking for sponsors, let us know. We can put a post out there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm good with the 1,000. Vice President Morgan? You're on mute.
Sorry. But I am as well. They should have proper business cards. We are Washington Township.
Councilman Casio?
I'm good with it.
Councilman DeSena?
Good.
Okay. Dues, meetings and conferences, 3,000. I know COVID probably was reduced. Chief Skinner, do you want to comment on that before we?
Yeah, so the majority of that number are the professional associations that we belong to, that we pay dues to: Chiefs Association, Traffic Officers Association. What we hope to do is to get to some training conferences. I know Steve goes down to like League of Municipalities. There's a very good training conference that the Chiefs Association runs both for chiefs and officers, and we couldn't get there last year with COVID. It is rescheduled for August. I'm hoping we get there this year, but I can't say 100% that we're going to get that. But I think we'll be able to. I would like to be able to spend that money on conferences.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't wait.
It's okay.
President, I was just thinking. Okay. Are there? There's a huge potential for it to be a WebEx type thing online, right? Instead of. So would that reduce the cost of it?
It would. You would get the. In other words, you would be paying still for the class or the course or the information, but you're not paying, say, for rooms for somebody to stay overnight. I think the other issue too is that we're hoping this thing's going to be in person. We don't know. The biggest part of this is a police expo that we go to. It's literally the entire Atlantic City Convention Hall full of vendors that sell police items. the captain and I went year before last, which was pre-COVID, and it was quite eye-opening. The stuff that was available that we didn't even know existed. So we would hope to get some people to that. You know, police department is fully vaccinated. I shouldn't say fully. I have 20 police officers and one SLEO, who's essentially a police officer. 18 of those are fully vaccinated. So I wouldn't have a problem sending a police officer to a conference who was fully vaccinated. So we're hoping to get guys in person.
Is there help you need getting the rest vaccinated, or just was timing and when they were available?
No, some officers couldn't get vaccinated if, you know, I don't want to get too into it, but if you had COVID within a certain period.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Listen, we were lucky. I've only had 2 officers so far that have had it. Very happy about that.
That's good. Okay. Is everybody good with the dues, meetings, and conferences? You know, we'll get to Councilman Cassidy.
Yeah.
Any comments?
No, I'm okay with it.
Councilman DeSena, I'm sorry, you were saying?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Office equipment repairs was used was 497083, same 5,000 is requested for this year. Chief Skinner, do you have any comments or?
Yeah, no, it's, you know, we were able to and that's what we needed to fix some things. It worked out pretty well. I don't have an exact line item on that. I can run one.
I see what
Yeah.
was in there from last year, so.
I mean, I'd like that 5,000 again. If somebody needs a breakdown, I can run it and get back to you.
Rich, just,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the repairs over the last couple of years. It was basically nothing. What big things broke in 220, or what are we putting in that line item for repairs?
So before I give you an answer, let me run it in Edmonds. And
Okay.
I'll get back to you on that one. You want to, I don't want
Yeah,
to give you
I'm just-
misinformation.
It's just weird how you had basically nothing in there for 16, 17, 18, 19. All of a sudden, 20, we got $5,000 in there and we used 40.
If you look at page
49.
72, Steve, it'll tell you what they are. They were all.
But some of it was radio repairs too, because that was part of my notes from last year.
Well, that's, you know,
That's,
Yeah, listen,
like again, it's just weird.
I can run that.
It's all there.
It's all here. We have it already, Chief.
Okay.
It's here. It's in
It
the
was
book.
for laptops. It was for laptops. It was for Windows Server licenses, upgrades, Epson
generator.
printer, and generator mechanic labor. That's probably the only repair that should have been on there.
Yeah, it needs to be reclassed because those are purchases, right?
Yes.
So again, classification is important to run the facility and the police department with the budget.
Well, actually, those 2 invoices, it says open, doesn't say paid.
So
Number is that? It's one.
It's page 70. I don't know if you have the detail we have at 72.
They were encumbered, Mrs. Feeney. If you look, it came out of the 5,000, even though they say open.
No,
did
I
get-
know, I know, but I'm just curious why it says open, that's all.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Tovo, if you look at page 72, about midway down, could you find out why those are still sitting there as open from September of last year?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Mileage is all class strong also, but I guess we'll get there.
Well, those say open also, that's why I'm curious.
But look at what they're paid out for.
I know. Well, the only one that says petty cash is the last one for 76. I mean, the third one's a license, the second one's a license.
They can go with the ones above it with 270.
That's why it's odd that they're open. I figured that's why they're sitting there and they haven't been paid out. Because they're also from November, that's sitting there a while. Chief Skinner, do you want to, what do we want to? I think we're gonna skip 0125240270 till we get an answer back for that one and for mileage, if that's okay with you, Chief Skinner?
Well, I think I can give you an answer.
Okay.
So I'm looking at a sheet. I see that there was 2 training laptops. Again, because of COVID, a lot of what we're doing is now our training is taking place online.
Mhm.
So I think the $3,100 for the 2 laptops is absolutely needed. However, I do recognize that it probably should have come from another line item. I will definitely note that. The rest of it to me looks like, minor repairs or upgrade to a server, a generator. I think the big thing we're looking at is that laptop purchase rather than repair. I mean, it is office equipment. It was used as office equipment. It was just a purchase, not a repair.
I agree with that.
So that's why, yeah, so right, because it says office equipment repairs, not just equipment repairs.
It should say equipment/repairs if it's going to be one line item.
We could have paid to upgrade the Fred Flintstone laptops we have. We bought new ones instead.
Right.
And it does say office equipment, so, yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm speaking to you right now, and I'm on those laptops.
Rich, how many laptops did you get?
2.
2?
Yep.
Chief, if I recall, didn't we originally plan on upgrading our existing ones, and that's why it may have been originally coded to that line?
It might have been coded that way. I know that Doug basically said that the old laptops wasn't worth an upgrade. I mean, they were they were more than 10 years old. They were running some Windows operating systems that were severely outdated.
So it's like semantics, whether it was.
Yeah, but shouldn't
Yeah, I mean, is it whether it's a purchase or repair?
Right, and
Shouldn't
it is say
that have
office
gone
equipment.
to Furniture and equipment then to 240,300?
Furniture and equipment is not laptops, it's not computers.
It's
You
equipment.
never-
They have, we have a Sony recorder in there,
Well, one of them
Yeah,
was a
I-
rental.
Listen, I would call it office equipment. Not, I can't sit on a laptop. I can operate it. Yeah, listen, I mean, you're looking at what we spent the money on there. So, we bought laptops.
You don't really have like an office, you have office equipment, maybe that should get changed, Mr. Tovo. It should be office equipment and office equipment repairs.
It'll line.
Or just
I mean-
change the name on that one to make it both.
Yeah, as you're gonna see, when you get to the next line, some titles were changed in the Excel spreadsheet.
Right,
When
the copier
transfer-
expense.
And when it transfers over to, back to Edmunds, quite often it doesn't catch that change. And I'm sure the chief will explain that when we get to, the mileage category.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the office equipment repairs, which really should be office equipment and office equipment repairs.
Yeah. If we can change that to office equipment / repairs instead of office equipment repairs.
Yeah, I think you just need to put a slash. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm good with the 5,000 based on last year's expense, not knowing where we'll be with COVID and what you'll need. Vice President Morgan?
Actually, I think the line item actually should change to computer equipment, office equipment or office equipment computer repairs, because you have another one, furniture and equipment, and that can be confusing as well.
That's what I just said, Mrs. Morgan. Thank you.
What's
So-
that?
I would be inclined to go along with that.
Okay.
Okay, good. That sounds good.
So I'm sorry, what was your initial question?
So I said, I'm okay with the 5,000 based on last year's spend and not knowing what we would need for COVID this year if they need additional
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
computers. Okay, Councilman Casio?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Okay. Let's take a vote just because we had a discussion on it. I'll make a motion for the 5,000. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Sue,
Councilman-
roll call?
Councilman
Yes.
Cascio? Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. Okay, Chief Skinner, mileage, Mr. Chobo said you'd have a explanation
Yeah, so
for us?
we discussed last year at the meeting, changing the name of police mileage. And actually 2 years ago, there was some discussion about changing that to like a medical or psychological billing for the hiring process. It didn't get changed. Last year, we talked about putting money in there, and it probably could just go into the line item that you just changed above. So basically, I'll tell you, what we spent this money on was not police mileage. It was, there was one bill in there for some gas when we went to pick up some 1033 stuff. So since it was a police officer paying for the gas out of his pocket that we had to reimburse to pick up a 1033 line item, somewhere around $300, no, less than that.
76.
76.
Yep. So the rest of it had to do with upgrading our server to handle the new 4.0 for our records management system. And we also, listen, I'm going to tell you straight out, when I took this police department over, every record that we owned was stored in the room across the hall, and it was backed up to a box on the sergeant's desk, which was about 40 feet away. So if we had a fire, lightning, anything, every police record we would have lost. So we asked to change this line item as kind of, I guess, like a computer upgrade. And what we spent the money on was upgrading the server. And now we actually store our records off-site at a different police department. And we are paying a $3,000 fee for DART to kind of administer all of that. But I think we can certainly rename this line item, but I need money to store records, not 50 feet away from the computer.
I do see my notes from last year that it was asked to be changed. That it was it was asked to.
My suggestion would be maybe if you wanted to eliminate this line item, well, you just voted on the one above it, but I would say, 270 and 280 could be combined to one line item, but I would still ask for then 10,000. So
Unless do you need, is this all the money that's encompassed in here is all computer software upgrades?
Yep. And
so,
we could even move this to computer. There is a computer software line.
Well, that was
yeah. We've reclassified a lot of these lines. We used to have a separate computer purchase and a separate computer lease for software. We've combined those. So I would say in the last year or two, there are some line items you'll see that we have managed to get rid of. So, I'd like to keep that $5,000 in there and either change the name of the line item or move that $5,000 to computer software line item, whatever you guys suggest.
But you have that line item.
But 24810 is computer software. So is it possible that for next year we can merge those numbers into 24810?
Absolutely.
I know that last year, based on my notes, you asked for that name to be changed.
Last year I asked for the name change, and
right.
It just
didn't happen.
Get on there. Yeah.
Mr. Tovo, could you address that with Mr. Corcoran that we're want that name changed? I understand what you're saying about it.
That'll be called the admins because it was changed on the Excel spreadsheet. So they need to fix it on their end.
Okay, so you have to put a ticket into admins for them to change it.
Correct.
Okay, so could you let us know, could you keep a running sheet on the changes we're going to have in admins for next year so that we could, just keep tabs on it?
Yes, I'm learning as we go along.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm good with what Chief Skinner is asking for because he did ask for the change prior year. So in my opinion, that even though this line still says mileage, he used it for what it was intended based on last year's meeting. So that's my opinion. Vice President Morgan?
My only question is, because you did the upgrades already, do you think you need that much for this year or just to cover the rent for the record storage?
So the record storage itself is $3,000. And again, there's some certain equipment involved. So, I would ask for the $5,000. I think $3,000 is the exact known cost without any variables.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Casio?
Yeah, that was my question. What in this line item is going to reoccur? Okay, or is there something that we bought? It's a one-time purchase that we can take out. That was my question. I know that was a big.
And again, I don't know if you want to leave it here or some of the other things. One of the things that we've talked about is, say, upgrading the personal workstations. In the past, we buy new computers every 10 years, which is kind of silly. It's not replacement enough. So what we've been trying to do is replace computers slowly through operating budget rather than a capital item. One item I can tell you that I would take out of here unless I was told to take it out of another line item is, I'm speaking to you from a laptop right now because our desktop computers don't have a camera or a microphone. But I'd like to purchase a camera and a microphone, and then I'd be looking at you on a bigger screen. These are things I don't think of when I'm budgeting. And come October when I got 4 guys trying to get on a Zoom meeting, I'm like, wow, I wish I had those cameras. So that's the kind of thing that I put in there to buy.
Okay.
Councilman DeSena?
No question, no, nothing.
Okay, let's have a vote on the 5,000. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Sue?
Councilman Casio,
Yeah.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes,
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Copier expense. This is the same as prior year at 1763, but you did have a transfer out of 500.
Yeah, I didn't make the transfer, so I'm not sure what that is.
Let's see.
2402.
I'm good with the 2,000. Vice President Morgan?
I am good with the 2,000 since they've spent close to that every year.
Yeah.
Councilman Casio?
I'm assuming this is a contracted rate, right, Rich, for the copiers?
Yes,
Or is it per copy?
I believe it's per copy, but contracted rate per copy. But I don't want to say something that's not right. I believe that's what it is. I can
But
run.
usually contract with, they might have some overages or something, so.
Right. And honestly, one of the things I try to do here is get my guys away from handing me a piece of paper when they can send me an email.
Okay, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Councilman DeSena?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Furniture and equipment, you're looking to replace the dispatch chairs per the notes. So you're at 3,000 from 2,500 last year?
Yep. So the dispatch chairs are expensive. It's a 24/7 chair. If you can think about it now, our dispatchers basically spend 12 hours sitting in that chair. So, we, with the exception of that one year where the furniture budget was high, we spent $23.89 last year. I'd like to put that to 3,000 just to purchase these dispatch chairs. And again, furniture is something different each time. We did replace a desk in the common room that the police officers share. We actually added a lot cleaner desk and some new mailboxes this year. Primarily, that furniture budget would go towards the dispatch chairs, and then some other things needed.
I'm good with it for the dispatchers. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, I'm good with it.
Councilman Casio?
Okay.
Councilman DeSena?
Okay,
Okay. Interpreters, calibrations.
Yep. Okay. So one of the things we did to try to save a little bit of money was we were getting the cars calibrated once a month, and cars need to be calibrated for speeding purposes. So if you're following a car and you don't have it on radar, but you're pacing it on your speedometer, it has to be calibrated. But it doesn't need to be calibrated every month. I'm not really sure. I think we've been calibrating them once a month since 1950. So we're actually calibrating now only twice a year. So I'd like to, last year was 2,100 we asked for. I'd like to put that out to 1,500 is what we asked for, because we're going to do less car calibrations. That does include, interpretation for the language line, and that's pretty much what's in that line item. I could pull that up too.
Yeah, it's in case anybody wants to look, it's on page 73 towards the bottom middle, sort of. So you can see the 2 calibrations and the language line services.
Yep.
Okay. I'm good with the 1,500. Vice President Morgan?
I am as well.
Councilman Casio?
I'm good with it, but Rich, are you sharing the interpreters with the health department still, or that hasn't happened in a while?
It hasn't happened. What we're doing is we use the language line, which is AT&T. We've contracted them for them as long as I've been here. It actually works very well because they speak
Everything.
hundreds of languages. You know, I didn't know it, but apparently there's 8 dialects of Mandarin.
Okay.
And you need to get the right one.
I'm good with it, Rich. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman DeSena.
I'm good.
Radio expense. Chief Skinner.
So that's pretty much radio repair. If we have a car radio or a portable radio that needs to be fed in, you'll see that number has varied year to year. So, you know, we're hoping, you know, there's going to be, hopefully we'll get this radio thing up and running with new radios sometime this year. But in the meantime, we need to fix the radios that we have if they break. You know, that's fluctuated anywhere from about 3,000, 3,500, 6,200. Last year was 3,568. We're asking for the same 6,000 that we asked for the year before.
Okay, mainly because it's an unknown. You're not sure if the radio is going to break down. You want to have.
Exactly, it's an unknown.
Okay, and this is what your estimate's been based on.
Yeah, I'll be first one to tell you it's a tough one to estimate.
Okay. Vice President Morgan?
Chief, you said that you had new radios, anticipated new radios. How far away is that?
I couldn't give you, I don't think could give you a solid date on when they are. My understanding right now is that there's some contractual wording with the county to use their radio frequency. That's being worked on.
Okay.
I hope we get it done this year.
Okay.
Councilman Casio?
Rich, can we whittle that down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, what are you suggesting, Steve?
Can we knock 500? Because I'm pretty confident we're going to get that. We're going to get the county to come through and do their thing this year.
Okay, so let's knock 500 off it. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll make a motion to knock it down to 55.
Okay, I'll second it. Sue, roll call.
Can I add comments to that, Mrs. Feeney, before we discuss?
Councilman Casio made a motion, so let's go on with that, and then absolutely after that.
I don't mind deferring to Mr. DeSena.
Well, I second it. So Sue, let's have roll call, and then you can make your comments. Well,
Let it go.
you can laugh all you want. I mean, I keep motion.
Everybody
I
gets a
didn't.
comment. Let
Well,
me comment.
I didn't make the motion.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay, thank you for withdrawing your motion. Go ahead, Councilman DeSena.
Rich, are we comfortable that we think that in 2021 we'll finally have an agreement for this radio system? You're muted. Chief, you're muted.
Okay, give him a second.
Sorry about that.
trying.
Yeah, I think so, Steve. I can't speak to the language that's in the county and their radio frequency. I sure hope it gets done this year. I mean,
We've been talking about it for 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's a dangerous.
Councilman DeSena, do you have a comment on the actual?
I am making a comment, Mrs. Feeney.
Yeah, but
I am
we're talking about the number
I am
here. Can we
talking to the
stick to
chief
that?
about the radio expense.
Right.
You had your
let's-
turn to speak. It is my turn to
let's-
speak.
Let's stick to the radio expense and not that this
The
has taken a lot of
$6,000
years.
The $6,000, if we reduce it by 500, you'll be okay?
yes, I'll be okay with that. Absolutely. Listen,
Okay, so we
I
have
get it. I know this is a tough year for everybody.
we have a motion back. Councilman Casio, do you
I'll
want to put your?
reintroduce my motion. Yes.
Okay, I'll second. Sue, can we have a vote, please?
What a joke.
Casio.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Police training, Chief Skinner?
Yeah, so, you know, as you'll see, we've steadily increased police training. It's something I believe wholeheartedly in. All of our sergeants are receiving, you know, police supervisor training. All of my lieutenants are receiving command training, and myself, executive training. The captain went for FBI lead executive training. And we asked for 14,000. Maybe you'll see that was an increase last year because we started doing a lot of our mandatory training through the Rogers Group, which is really working out very well. And I would say the only reason that we didn't spend the full 14,000, we only spent 13,000, was because we had a couple classes that were scheduled and then got canceled during COVID. They were actually classes that need to be done in person, like trap find. You go and they show you where things are hidden in the car. So I would definitely wholeheartedly ask for that 14,000 for training. I think we're raising the professionalism of the police department.
Okay, I'm good with it based on your explanation. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, I'm good with it.
Councilman Casio?
No problem.
Councilman DeSena?
Chief, with all the help we've gotten from the Rogers Group, are all our SOPs up to date and correct now in 2021?
They're not, but they're significantly ahead of where we were last year. We are talking about actually, so right now we're using Rogers Group for training. We are not using Rogers Group to write policy. We're obtaining policy from other police departments and rewriting them. We're probably going to ask for Rogers Group next year in Capital. This year, I kind of wanted Rogers. When we get to Capital, we'll talk about it. We're looking at mandatory body cameras, which hopefully will be reimbursed, but there's no plan for that. So the short story is I'm looking for Capital for Rogers in 22.
And that would be for accreditation and SOP completion?
That would be the intention, yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's put this to a vote. I'll make a motion for the 14,000. I need a second, please.
Second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, Chief's uniform allowance. Is this contractual?
Contractual.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes, it's contractual, so yes.
Councilman Casio?
Okay.
Councilman DeSena?
Okay.
Okay, safety equipment and uniforms, 10,000, Chief Skinner?
Yep. So we spent, I think, 9,978. I would ask for that same 10,000. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've actually gotten phone calls and emails from several police officers in town that say our police officers definitely look, a lot more squared away. So we've straightened out not only the everyday uniform, but when we do issue new things, pieces, I'm just saying I'm very happy with the way the uniforms have worked out. We used to have what I like to call here as a multi-form where guys kind of wore what they wanted. Now, you go out on the street, they're actually wearing things that match. So I would ask for the same 10,000 in the uniform allowance.
Okay, I'm good with it. Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Okay. Police oxygen and fire extinguishers, 1,500.
If you look, that thing's kind of held steady. We've been budgeting 1,500 and we've been lucky to come in underneath that for the most of the years. However, I don't know how much oxygen or fire extinguishers we're going to expend during the year. So I like to, put a little bit more money in that. We're asking for $400 more than we spent just to play it safe. I think this year was probably more oxygen. I could pull it than fire extinguishers. With COVID, we had more oxygen calls.
Okay,
So-
I'm good with it. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, absolutely.
Councilman Casio?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Okay. Equipment maintenance and licenses.
Yep. So, we asked for 5,000 last year. We spent essentially almost 4,200. I'd like to keep to that 5,000. It was 5,000 a year before. I'd have to run that to see the difference.
The live scan maintenance contract, that's every year?
Yes.
Okay, and I see DART again and Sentinel Online.
Yes. And you know, one thing we didn't add, that we may add to that line item was, it's an additional security feature that we've talked about with DART. I think we were going to look at it last year. We didn't do it. We may do it this year, where it's only a couple $100. I think it's $200-300. They actually send test emails out to our police officers to see if they're opening things they're not supposed to be opening. So that's one of the things we would add to that.
Yeah, a lot of companies are doing that now. So
Yep.
I'm good with the 5,000. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, I'm good with it.
Okay. Councilman Casio?
And just one question with the life scan. That's recurring every year?
The maintenance contract. Yeah.
Maintenance contract.
Maintenance? Okay, that's all. I'm good.
This is the dental.
Thanks.
This is the loan.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to make sure you're good on
We're okay with
2404.
5,000? Everybody's good?
Yeah,
Let's have a vote just to make sure. So make a motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Councilman Casio,
yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, medical supplies. You're asking for 1,000. I'm good with it. Vice President Morgan,
I'm good with it.
Councilman Casio,
Okay,
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Okay, miscellaneous, Chief Skinner, 7,000.
Yep, 7,000. You'll see it's primarily car washes and certain unknown things. We did some psychological testing that did come out of that line item.
Okay,
Rich, how come we got stuff in there for copiers again?
Let me take a look, Steve. 500.
1, 2, 3, June, July, and August copy release.
Hang on, Steve.
Run out of money there or something in the other line item?
Steve, too, if you look at the copiers, there's actually some in and outs too. They may offset each other.
Yeah, I think something was put in there and then came back out. Miscellaneous, sometimes when it gets to the either temporary budget time and there's not money in the line item and I can take it out of miscellaneous or at the end. So, miscellaneous has kind of turned into a car wash and whatever else we need line item. So the tuning forks come out of there every year, I can tell you that.
It came out of somewhere else before. Tuning forks were somewhere else I saw.
Okay.
Tuning forks are up in equipment and maintenance and licenses. They're up in 450.
I'm seeing it. All right, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 450. Be looking at 500, right? I
I'm
apologize.
looking at 500.
Yep. I don't know that I have 500 in front of me, but let me get it and I'll get right back to you if you want to go to the next.
All right, I'm just saying, again, this stuff, I see that it was June, July, August, and then October
Yeah.
for
I mean, miscellaneous is miscellaneous, but if I can look at that line item, I'll try to give you a better answer.
that's all. Let's just try and, again, classify the stuff where it needs to go. That's all.
Yeah, and you're right about that, and I'm learning that too. So thank you.
I just have a quick question. Patrol hats, I know it's a little bit of money, but shouldn't that come out of the uniform for the officers?
Yep. So I'll tell you what we did was we had spent the money and we had a little problem with the hats because officers, I don't want to get too into it, but we have a baseball hat that we wear in the winter when it's cold the way it's been. We wear a watch cap. I didn't want officers out on the line with the Giants beanie on their hat. So we do have a acceptable blue hat, but it kind of morphed into somebody had a blue hat, somebody had a black hat. Everybody was issued a new hat and told you're going to wear this hat. When it wears out, you'll buy a new hat, and this is the only thing you're wearing. So that's why I took it out of miscellaneous. There was no money in the uniform line item when I purchased them.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the money out of miscellaneous, figured it was a miscellaneous kind of item.
Councilman DeSena, any comments here?
Was the DPW truck titles for 1033 trucks, Chief Skinner?
Is that in that line item?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I'm waiting for that to print and I'll take a look at it. There's sometimes when we pick up 1033 items, we're picking up stuff for both S and the DPW at the same time. So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me on that.
Well, it's coded DPW truck title. That's why I was wondering if you guys
We'll take a look.
got a DPW truck and you paid for the title, you know.
So I can say this, I don't believe I signed any kind of purchase order or, to title a DPW truck. It's possible that it was charged to there, and I don't believe that the police department charged it there. Let me look. I actually have the whole list here. Okay, so I'll get back to you on the truck part of it, but I'm seeing miscellaneous things, Ziploc bags for police. That's what we put the masks in for COVID. Didn't really plan on that. Suppose they could have charged that to OEM maybe, but Lysol wipes. That was was a COVID expense. I think miscellaneous is inappropriate for that. Is there a date, Steve? I'm sorry, Mike. You have a date on that DPW charge?
Yeah, 120.
12:30.
It's the last item, titles, plates for DPW truck.
Isn't that
Title-
120? Isn't that 12021?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to Division of Motor Vehicles to register a car for us. And I believe we registered a car for the DPW while we were there. And then it became a petty cash item. So in other words, our guys got the money from Bernadette and paid for those registrations. So maybe we did pay for one of the DPW's registration while we were registering the police vehicle.
Because it's on the same day.
And it's the same check, so it makes sense.
Yeah, makes
It's
sense.
the same check.
Mhm.
Because the DMV was open and closed for COVID, maybe you guys went because you were
Yeah,
going. anyway.
we as police officers for police business can get into to Division of Motor Vehicles.
That's fine. That's an acceptable explanation of why it's billed there.
No, listen, sorry, it took me a minute to get to it. All right, so can we go 7,000 on miscellaneous?
I'm okay with it.
Shoot.
All right, let's vote on it, on the 7,000 as is. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second,
Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so the next line item is guns and ammunition. It's primarily ammunition purchases. As you know, the price of ammunition has gone up. Fortunately for us, we're not getting raked over the coals the way the general public is, but there is going to be a state contract price increase in ammunition. So I'm asking for 15,000 for guns and ammunition, which is essentially training purposes and duty ammunition.
I'm good with it. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, I'm good with it.
Councilman Casio?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Okay. Let's just vote on it. I'll make a motion to vote for 15,000. I have a second.
I'll second.
Sue?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. Traffic light maintenance and repair.
Okay, So that's the money that would repair traffic lights. You know, generally, this is kind of our insurance policy for Pascack and Washington. We actually, it's not on here. We've already had one traffic light repair this year at Pascack and Washington. I'm actually waiting for the bill. I don't think it's a huge one, but you know, you'd see we spent $4,000 in 2019 because there was a pretty big issue with that light. You know, I think we're probably at least a year. I see that the work has started in the intersection, which is, I think makes everybody happy. But that traffic light's going to be up there at least this year, and we need that 5,000 in case something goes wrong. You know, you can see there's years we budgeted more than that and spent nothing, but I think 5,000 is the minimum as an insurance policy to fix the probably the oldest traffic light in the county.
I'm good with it. Vice President Morgan? I know you haven't spent anything, but.
Yeah, that's what makes it so difficult. And you thinking 5,000, if I'm going to be very honest, I never looked at a bill for a traffic light to be repaired. So is 5,000 like a one-time type of thing? They come out and that's basically the average it would cost? Or are you thinking repairing it several times over the year?
I think that would probably be several repairs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you look at it, budgeted 10,000, spent nothing. Budgeted 7,000, spent 3. 7,000, spent nothing. 5,000. Listen, here's the thing. If the traffic light breaks and you guys have another way to pay for it, I'm good with that.
Chief, what do you think you spent the other day?
I'll be honest with you, Steve.
They were out there almost half a day, right? I mean, I saw him out there almost half a day, right?
I know Sergeant Shera is still on the line. He handled that. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Shera is still on the line. And he may have handled that. He may want to click in, but I don't think he's going to give you a number. He could basically tell you maybe what the repair entailed.
But it was almost a full day of labor.
Yeah, it was significant.
And how much is a full day of labor? Probably about $2,000, most likely, with parts and whatever they needed to fix. So if you have if you have 2 of those a year.
If you can find the part.
It's true.
Oh boy.
I think we had the same discussion last year about the traffic light, if you could find the part. I think it was the same.
Listen, I think the takeaway here is, we've actually had police officers working over there at that intersection where they're starting to, I guess, the process to widen it. So, we're seeing progress, and it's, listen, I hope this is $5,000 we don't have to spend. We're going to have to repair the light.
Chief, at this point, we haven't received a bill for that light. I would imagine it probably in the area of $1,000 plus. And like I said, we didn't get a bill from them yet. I can look into that. And, if there's any repairs, it's a very old system. I'm sure there's going to be a nice expense to that. So, not
Problem is the parts aren't available anymore, so they got to scramble to find parts and put it back together like Frankenstein.
Iowa. That's where we got the last one from St. Louis, the last part.
On
Right.
eBay.
Yeah.
On
Right.
eBay, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm good with the 5,000. Let's put it to a vote. I'll make a motion for 5,000. I need a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Sue, roll call?
Is that Steve that did the second?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, yes.
Caught me by surprise. Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, other equipment rental, none. Computer software, I think that last year we moved this computer software to other areas.
Yes.
So there's nothing in this line. I think maybe there needs to be a discussion with you and the new CFO about what to do with some of these items, though. I think the rest of the council would agree. Maybe bring some of those other items back to computer software. I know we changed the names, but maybe that would be a new discussion to have. What does the rest of the council think?
I agree.
Yeah. Some of the stuff we discussed earlier were kind of hardware. This is software. I think the change on this was we've kind of gotten away from buying software more to leasing software. So there is
Right,
a software leasing.
right. Maybe we could, okay. Just so there's no, change the confusion for next year when we have the other conversations about what's in those lines and that people don't think the wrong items are in those lines. We'll definitely work to get the names changed, I think.
Okay, yeah,
Computer supplies,
yep. 7,500, we spent a little over 6,500. I would ask for that 7,500 again. Again, it's sometimes, stuff that you can see that's kind of a steady increase.
I'm good with it based on the spend from prior year, unless you think there's anything you could do there. But if you're, anticipating the 7,500,
I'd like to leave it there. I don't know if we're thinking knocking $500 off helps. Listen, I think every little bit helps, right?
that would be my only recommendation is,
Okay.
for
I'm
7,000.
actually okay with that. Because again, it's different things at different times.
So I'll go through everybody and then I'll make a motion if that's okay with the council. Vice President Morgan,
Yeah, I think if we bring it to 7,000, I'm more comfortable.
Councilman Cassia,
Yeah, you can bring it down 5. That's fine.
Councilman Senna.
I'm okay with bringing it down 5.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion for 7,000. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Sue,
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
yes. Okay. Police vehicle leasing,
Okay, so I'm gonna let Mr. Tovo and Lieutenant Pecora talk a little more about it, but we put 95,000 a year. That pays the leases for the 4 Ford Explorers, which will get released. And then it also, when we lease those vehicles, we're paying this line item for the items that go in the car, what we call upfitting. So, a lockbox in the trunk that contains all the equipment and a rifle, the radio transfer, the radar transfer, those kind of things. So essentially what we're looking at is the same as last year with 2 additional leases. We do want to look at leasing Chevy Tahoes. There was a lot of talk back and forth whether we were going to lease or buy those Tahoes, and now I believe we've landed on leasing the Tahoes. And that's what we're hoping to do is lease 2 Tahoes, and that's where the increase is. And I think that any other questions, feel free, and I'll have Mr. Tovo or Lieutenant Pecora jump in.
I can pick up from there, Chief. This year, our lease payment will be $66,000. Keep in mind, the first year of our lease program, we had to lease 4 vehicles because the fleet was deficient in the number of vehicles that we had. And the plan is ideally for 2 new leases per year. But we have to absorb that initial year of the 4 cars. So in essence, this is year 2. There's room left there to pay our lease, acquire more vehicles to stay on track, and the equipment does not come with it, and the equipment that is transferred from one car to another would be covered by this line as well. And then the 3rd year of our leasing will be our peak year, and then we'll level off where we're pretty steady for the foreseeable future at under $100,000 per year.
When you say steady under $100,000 a year, what are you talking?
Based on the number of vehicles we need to get, we should be in the $80,000 to $90,000 range per year.
But is that 6 vehicles, Mr. Tovo, or is that 8 vehicles?
Well, again, year number 1, we had at least 4.
Yes.
And then the plan going forward will be 2 vehicles per year.
And we can't buy these vehicles back the way we're leasing them, right?
Yes, we can. The vehicle's ours at the end of the lease.
It's a lease to buy. At the last year, you get them for
That's a big number on cars. When you look at the priors, 16, 95, 4, 6, 5.
So part of the issue was, and I don't want to get too into slinging things back to days before, but under prior administration, we had cars that were crashed. We got insurance money for and never bought another car.
If I can interject, Chief, the reason those numbers were low in prior years, we were leasing the Hyundais, which were much less expensive car, and there was only 2 of them. The primary cost for vehicles was in vehicle acquisition, and we're no longer using that line. And I believe that was last funded, I believe, at 117, and was gradually going up every year.
Yep.
So we're actually going in the opposite direction.
And
that was line item 25-245-000, vehicle acquisitions. That was taken out and absorbed into the leasing. So I think we're actually ahead of the game a bit here.
Is the buy factor into that number?
The buy is $1 at the end. So yes, it would be.
Okay, so to add this number at the 110, is there anything that you would recommend doing, Mr. Tovo, or what would be the recommendation if we didn't leave it at the 110?
You're going to run the risk of not being able to properly outfit the cars that you purchase.
Okay, so it's not just the lease, it's the, like Chief Skinner said, the upfitting then.
The equipment, the transfer of equipment.
Right.
Okay. Clarifying, okay.
And we don't, we do eventually sell these cars at auction, but then they go from frontline cars to cars that are used for, traffic details. And, we've had a lot of traffic work. So
how long is the lease, Chief?
I believe and I don't want to misspeak, so I'm going to kind of pop that back over to Mr. Tovo or the lieutenant. I think it's a 4-year lease and then a buy at the end of 4.
It's 3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
And then we buy the car back after 36 months for $1.
Correct.
The trucks.
Okay,
Yeah, the
so
additional money, the Tahoes are just slightly more expensive than the Fords were. However, they do run better. They have a better resale at the end. They're more what we need as far as fitment because they're much larger than the Fords are, and we could fit all our equipment in there. Nowadays, we're getting even more equipment that we need to carry in these vehicles.
Chevys overall have a lower cost of ownership. I mean, personally, I drive a Ford, but I think the Chevys are better equipped for police work.
Come check out my driveway, Chief. I have a black Suburban in it now. Police model. Black on black.
So just for reference, guys, we have $66,000 for the Fords. That is part of the current lease. If we lease the 2 Tahoes for this year, the pricing is going to be somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000, plus some outfitting included, or additional, I should say. So that's why we're at that 110 mark.
And this is all under state contract, Lieutenant Picard?
That is correct.
Yeah, you're obligated to buy through state contract, correct?
Yes.
So we'll leave the number at 110, and that includes the fitting for the equipment that you need and the lease for the year, and that's where we're at with the number currently.
Yes.
Yeah, that should cover it.
So anybody else have any other, Councilman Cassia, more comments?
Yeah, question is, so we're talking, we're going to lease these for 3 years, right? And a buyout for $1 at the end. And once we have the buyout, what are we going to do? Are we going to, for next year's plan, we're buying 2 more? We're going to buy 4 more? Or is this going to take us 3 years down the line with everything we have? What's the plan?
Ideally, we would go to, try to get 2 every year at this point now that we've caught up efficiencies that we had last year. And then every year would be just 2 vehicles.
So 2 this year or 4 this year?
And no, 2 this year.
2 this year, and next year we're talking another 2?
Possibly, yes.
That bring us to 8. Chief. That's
Yeah, but we have vehicles that are close to 10 years
So
old.
keep in mind too, you leased 4 vehicles last year, but we gave up the Hyundai. We gave up, one of the Hyundais went to
Code enforcement, is that
sanitation,
right?
and the other Hyundai went back. So we were leasing Hyundais. Those I believe now were purchased, but you're talking 4 vehicles, but for me as a chief of police to respond somewhere in the winter and drive a Hyundai was not feasible. That car got benched for a good part of the year. Both of those Hyundais, they were they were a mistake to buy a Hyundai.
Hey, as long as you're not driving a Prius, Rich, we're good. So we're okay.
Listen, I'm going to go to Mike's house, and I don't want to drive the Tahoe. I want to take the Corvette for a ride.
There you
Okay.
go. You got the Suburban or the Corvette, whenever you want.
Okay, let's put this to a vote. I'll make a motion for the 110. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, telephone maintenance contract.
Yeah, that's something that generally doesn't change. It's been 6,700. We spent 6,658 and 242,000. So I would ask for that just to remain the same.
I'm good with it. Vice President Morgan,
I'm good with it.
Councilman Casio,
Yeah, it's fine.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
okay, dispatch desk software licenses, 17,000.
Yep.
There's an increase this year. Additional software or?
Yeah, so we upgraded late in the year last year to Enforcis 4.0. So Enforcis is our, I'm on TV, my hair's sticking out. Enforcis is our records management system. There's a lot of features that 4.0 gave us, so there's a price increase to that. We're sticking with the same it's not dispatch software, it's CAD, computer aided dispatch. It's our record keeping software, and it's been upgraded. Should have probably been upgraded a while back. So that's why we're asking for the 17,000.
Okay, based on the explanation, I'm good. Vice President Morgan,
Yep, I'm good as well.
Councilman Casio,
Yeah, what new features does it have, Rich? That's going to help us?
So, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna open up the microphone and let the captain kind of yell over, but
Okay, fine.
Steve, it has a component for electronic case management, as well as automated paging so that the command staff is notified anytime certain CAD entries are put in. The upgrade also did increase the operating efficiency. The system runs significantly faster.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks, John.
Councilman DeSena,
No questions. I'm
Sue,
okay with it.
okay, let's vote on this. I'll make a motion for the 17,000. May I have a second?
Second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
community policing, I'd like to keep that at 3,000, same as last year. Even in a COVID environment, we managed to do a few programs. We recently we did an essay contest with middle school and high school students. We did we kind of took over our Coffee with a Cop as a mobile program this year. We didn't really want to hold an event, but the officers had coffee mugs and Keurig cups in their cars, and they stopped and talked to people while they were raking their leaves, fully fully compliant with, with COVID regulations, but we still managed to get out there and greet the public a little bit. And we also, purchased some items that will be used for the next town day when we have it, those kind of things. So I'd like to keep the community policing where it's at.
Okay, I'm good with the 3,000. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, I am.
Councilman Casio?
Sure.
Councilman DeSena?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, vehicle acquisitions, non-car cameras, 4,500. It's in line with last year.
Yep.
Any comments there or no?
No comments.
Councilman Casio?
Rich, do you know why there was only, oh, never mind. I saw the transfer. No, I'm good. You're good.
Okay, Vice President Morgan?
Yep, no, I'm good.
Okay, so we're all good to move forward with that? The
Mhm.
4,500, okay. Okay, computer software leasing, 24,500.
Yep. So we increased that last year with the intention of adding a couple things. We've done some research and John may be able to jump in on this. That's pretty much what we're leasing in software. What we were looking to add that we didn't add was, we now have, like I said, the upgraded CAD system for records management. We have the, POS system for scheduling, which has been working great. But what we need is something to track personnel as far as for the early warning system that's in for the prosecutor's office, use of force incidents. So we were really looking at a program called Guardian, but now we've looked at 2 or 3 other programs. So depending on which one of those we pick, we do want to increase the software to get a personnel management. And John can maybe jump in a little.
Yeah, the systems that we looked at were kind of in flux because on the state level, there was some mandatory changes made to internal affairs and early warning systems with regard to tracking. The state was originally going to provide us with some software, but that kind of went by the wayside. So we've since researched 2 we've had proposals on, visual proposals. We've looked into a 3rd, and it just will automate. You can get the bare bones system, which would cover internal affairs only. But by going to a full personnel management system, it'll facilitate things like personnel evaluations and training logs, training records. It'll just be kind of one-stop shopping. That's what we're trying to get. So that accounts for the requested increase.
Okay, based on your explanation and plans for the future, I'm good. Vice President Morgan?
Yeah, I'm good as well.
Councilman Casio?
So John, this is scheduling with extra features on it for Pittman. Is that what this is?
No, it's not the increase. That is where this comes from, is the scheduling software, the Power DMS, those are all included in the line item. What accounts for the discrepancy between the last year's ask of 24,500 and what was spent as 19 is we did not purchase that additional module that we're looking into, because as we approached the vendors, what they were all significantly changing their software to reflect the changes that were coming down from the prosecutor's office, from the attorney general's office, that didn't actually happen until partway through the year. So as of just this past week, we had an updated presentation from one of the vendors, which showed us how they've now incorporated those changes. So we didn't want to purchase anything until we knew exactly what we were getting, because when we did the presentations early on in the year, what they showed us was not actually what we were going to be getting. So we just didn't find it prudent to jump in until we saw a finished product.
Okay, I'm good with it. Thank you for the explanation.
Thanks, John.
Councilman DeSena?
I'm okay.
Okay, let's vote on this. I'll make a motion for 24,500. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman DeSena?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Council President Feeney?
Yes. Okay. Range rental.
Okay. So you'll see that, our range rentals have gone up a little bit because of the prices in Paramus. This year we had a significant drop in what we spent on range fees because due to COVID, we were only required to qualify. It's normally, I'm going to let Lieutenant Pecora just jump in here and say what what the normal requirements are and what we had this year.
No problem. So normally every year we're required twice a year for our handguns and 4 times a year for our rifle. That was cut in half last year because of COVID and because of the shutdowns all over the place, including the ranges. So this year it's going back to normal. So we're returning to twice a year, and we've also incorporated more practice days. So that number is going to be much closer to the ask. I'm estimating somewhere around 9,500 or so, give or take.
Okay, based on the prior years, not a COVID year, I'm okay with the 10,000. Hopefully things will get back to normal unless there's a recommendation to reduce. But since you said no, based on the requirements, I'm good with the 10,000. Vice President Morgan?
Yeah, ideally, I'd love to see it a little bit lower, but it sounds like you've done your homework and that you're estimating it's going to be close to that, 95. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Councilman Casio?
Is there anything we'd slash out of here, gentlemen?
Hey, listen, Lieutenant did a great job. He did end with 9,500. I would be willing to go to 9,500. It would still allow us to get some extra practice.
Okay, sounds good.
Councilman DeSena?
I'm okay with it.
Okay, we have a recommendation by Chief Skinner. I'll make a motion for 9,500. May I have a second?
Second.
Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. Police dispatching. No, wait, I'm sorry, skipped one. Reverse 911 system, Swift Reach.
Yep. So we currently use Swift Reach, and there was some talk about adding Nixle. Our initial ask was actually to add the Nixle, but I believe in talks with the mayor and Mr. Tova, we decided to not do Nixle this year, stick with Swift Reach. So that's where we're at the 3,500.
So you're recommending, okay, so I'm good with the 3,500. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, 3,500 is good.
Councilman Casio?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Councilman DeSena?
Chief, can you explain, we've been talking about Nixle now for 4 years. What are the differences between Swift Reach and Nixle that why do we keep putting it off? What's the what's causing us not to switch to it?
So a lot of towns do both. We've been pretty successful with Swift Reach. We have a lot of people signed up for it. I can't, listen, I have Nixle for other towns. I have Nixle for Ocean County. For us, I think the Swift Reach works. I wouldn't say I'm opposed to Nixle. It's just, we've been looking at a lot of software and things. It was tough to kind of get demonstrations done this year. So I still think Nixle's a good idea, but I think it's something that we could wait on.
Didn't Nixle offer more for our senior population?
I can't give you an answer to that. I would have to do some more research on Nixle itself. I mean, if you know more about it and you'd like to sit down, listen, I'm not opposed to it.
We researched it a few years ago when we brought this this topic up of possibly going with both or switching. I think the major component was that there was more for the senior population with Nixle than there was for Swift Reach. So I just was curious.
Swift Reach does allow us to do a phone and email notification. So if somebody's not necessarily getting email, they are getting the phone calls. This is something actually that I'd like to get some more information about. And frankly, I didn't get a lot of information on Nixle this year. We were looking at a lot of other things, and I can't say specifically Nixle, but a lot of the stuff that we were trying to get through and get demos on,
it's very
was really hampered this year for COVID. So we can either put it on the wish list for next year, or if you got an idea what it costs and you want to budget for it now, we'll buy it.
Chief, I believe that OEM was looking into this as well, and
Yeah.
Swift Reach was telling OEM that it can do all the same things that Nixle does. So I believe we're waiting on pricing to see if we can do it all through one platform and not have two.
Great, thank you, Mr. Tovo. Yeah, Mike, if you know a little more about it and you want to sit down one day, I'm good with that.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, so are we good with the 3,500, Vice President Morgan? You know what, let's have a vote. Make a motion for 3,500. I didn't have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Sure.
Councilman DeSena,
Sure.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay, next line is police dispatching. Actual expense for last year was $182,622.40. Requested this year is $215,000, which is $32,000 increase, about 17.73%. I know last year requested $210,000. Chief Skinner.
Yeah, so a big part of that is, we dispatch for any salary expenses we might needed, which would include sick time and other things, but I'm actually going to, John, I think you actually have numbers on this, right?
Yeah, the actual number to cover the four, if you recall last year when we spoke, I had mentioned perhaps getting a breakout line item here for dispatch overtime, which I think would be helpful to the council and to us, because the base to cover the salaries at the 2020 rate is roughly 165. Now anticipating another 1.5 if the dispatchers were to get sort of the going rate for town employees on the traditional raises. I factored that in there. I also factor in each dispatcher gets roughly 80 hours of vacation, which needs to be covered with another dispatcher on overtime. The readjustment for Kelly time comes out to roughly 104 hours per dispatcher. Covering those two benefit times off comes out to roughly 22,000. On top of that, dispatchers previously were given holiday time off. What happened is we were wind up paying overtime for that. We refactored it with our dispatchers, and it was to their agreement and ours that they would get just paid straight time for the holidays. So that comes out to roughly 7,800. The last factor in there I add in is if every dispatcher took their full annual allotment of sick time, which I hope they never do, but that would add roughly another 11,500. That gets me up to a total of 208,000. We go to 215 to build in a cushion that I hope we never have to use, and that would account for every year. It's not something we were used to in the police department, but it's something that the town employees are used to. They bank their sick time, and so someone could use not just their 10 days in a calendar year, but their banked sick time as well. So I build that in terms of that cushion, the 208 up to what brings us up to the 215. Again, I hope they never use it because I hope they don't get sick, and for all of us. There's also the factor that with regard to dispatchers, they are one of one. So if they are out for any reason, if one were to leave and go somewhere else, I would have to pay dispatcher overtime to cover the desk until that dispatcher was replaced. So it's those expenses that I build in the extra 7,000 on, but 208 is sort of the minimum number. I still would request though that we get a dispatcher overtime line item so that it would be more accountable, to the council at budgeting time.
Okay, Mr. Tovo, could we put that request in? I think from my notes, we actually did have that request in. Lieutenant Calamari is correct for last year. So you're saying the 208 plus the 7,000 would be your total line since we don't have two lines like right now.
But I understand you want one line for the salary and wage and one line for overtime. Is that correct?
Yes, please,
Yes.
Mr. Tovo, if you
We
would.
can do that.
But Lieutenant Calamari, that's correct, right?
Yes, I think it would just be, that's how we do it for the police department. So I'd like to do it for the dispatchers also.
Okay, but those are the two numbers, correct?
Which two numbers? I'm sorry, can you repeat
That's
that?
okay, the 208 plus the 7,000?
The 208 covers all the things I articulated, which is vacation time, Kelly time, holiday time, and if they used all of their sick time.
Okay,
The 7,000 I built in as a cushion in case we were to lose a dispatcher and had to replace them.
right.
That hiring process could take a while, even though we have per diems, the per diems would have to get, paid. So that's why I build in that $7,000 cushion.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that number based on the explanation. Vice President Morgan,
Same.
Councilman Cassio,
Yeah, John, how much overtime did they have last year?
I don't have that in front of me, but I can run it very easily. I can forward it to the administrator and he can forward it to the council, however you guys want to get that.
But there was overtime involved, correct, with dispatching?
Yes,
And it was not covered by police?
and are you asking if police officers took the desk while dispatchers weren't here?
Yes.
I would be confident that happened, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
Okay.
There's always going to be, the reason I'm answering it that way, Steve, is because police officers will take the desk just to relieve a dispatcher. So a police officer could be on the desk during the dispatcher's meal breaks and things like that.
Sure. Yeah, that's not, I'm talking about someone called in sick. I'm not talking about covering it for 5 minutes or a half hour or whatever.
Okay.
I'm just talking about, was a dispatcher sick? Did they call out for a day or half a day? And if that was the case, did we call in a police officer to cover, or did we call in another dispatcher?
This is how it works, Steve. We would never call in a police officer to cover the desk on overtime. Those
Okay.
days are long gone. The way it would work is if the shift can absorb it in terms of we haven't met our minimum manpower for that shift. If
Right.
there was an additional officer, he'll cover the desk while we have the minimum manpower on the road. If,
Okay.
however, we were at minimum shift strength, a dispatcher is called in to cover the other dispatchers, be it a regular dispatcher on overtime, or actually the per diems are called first because their rate is less. If they're
Right.
not available, we call a regular dispatcher on overtime.
I'm just trying to figure out the numbers, just last year's numbers with the proposed and actual. I'm assuming a dispatcher had to call out sick somewhere, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't see that covered in the proposed and the actual for that year. So I'm just kind of wondering why it's going up, that much for, there's a difference there for this year coming in. I know it's
Yeah,
only $5,000, but that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So
I don't recall my ask from last year.
220.
It was probably higher than 210 and we reduced it. What'd you say, Chief? 220?
220 was the ask.
Yeah.
220 was the ask for last year. And like I said, Steve, I build in the assumption that every dispatcher will take all 10 of their sick days. That hasn't happened. That's
Okay.
never happened. And I'm hoping it doesn't.
okay. Again,
So
I'm just trying
that's why the number is, that's why I put that request in is for that contingency, which I hope I never face.
Okay, I totally understand. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm okay with 215.
Councilman DeSena?
I'm okay.
Okay, let's take a vote. Make a motion for the 215. May I have a second?
Second,
Sue?
Councilman Cassio,
yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. We're gonna do OEM. That'll be our last section, I believe.
Ms. Feeney,
Yeah.
I would request we table OEM until the end of the budget. Once we have a better feel for where we're going with the COVID-19, we may have an opportunity to bring this down substantially.
Okay, that's absolutely a reasonable request. No problem. Does anybody in the council have an issue with that?
Yes, Mrs. Feeney, can we receive, I know I asked for it in December. I apologize, Mr. Toba, if you did not receive it. But could we have the CARES Act bill to date by OEM to the council, please?
I'll get what update we have. It's coming in very slowly, I can tell you that.
I would just like to see what we're anticipating as reimbursements, that's all. I understand that the disbursements are coming in slowly, but I'd like to see everything we've submitted for from, beginning of 2019 when the pandemic started to today.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Toba.
Okay.
But
Chief
just-
Skinner, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
One other line item that kind of sometimes gets lost a little bit because it's farther down. Line item 0-01-26-315-004. It's a car repair line item, and I think it's kind of mixed in with DPW car repair, but it is the police car repair item.
You said
I
it was
don't actually-
it's 26.
315-004.
It's on page 46, Mrs. Feeney.
Okay, thanks.
Bottom
I
of the
don't actually have that in front of me,
missed
but
the
I
nu-
believe,
I missed the
I
number.
believe the ask was 7,000, and I just want to see if we can say, yeah, the 7,000 is good.
Okay. Do you want to make any comments there, or that's good, or?
No, I don't actually have that. Unfortunately, don't have that line item right in front of me. It's something that we sometimes miss because it's farther back. I have to remember to go back a couple pages away to get to that.
Says it's
Okay.
police vehicle tires.
Okay. Yes, I see. Okay. I'm good with that. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, I'm good with it. It looks like they transferred money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Councilman Casio?
Yeah, be nice to the cars. I'm good with it.
Okay. Councilman DeSena?
Chief, was last year a big tire replacement year, and this year it should be less other than blowouts and stuff? It seems like we went over budget last year, so did most of the cars get new tires last year?
Yeah, so actually, you know what? That's a good question, Mike. Can you just point out to me the line item number for that? Because I don't think we went over that.
26315,001.
Yeah, okay. So,
So last year's spend was 8,000. Last year ask was 7,000. This year's 7,000 is requested.
yeah, so, and I'm gonna ask, I have the line item for everything that we purchased in there. I'm gonna ask Lieutenant Sherry to kind of jump in, and then I'll wrap back up on it. I believe that these are pretty much a wear item tires. I don't have the history in front of me on it. I just have a run sheet. But, you know, Lieutenant Sherry, you're in, right? Can you just talk about tires?
It looks like it was also 2 sensors and then a custom wheel that needed to be fixed.
Right,
Two.
so that's what I'm looking at here is, so what we generally do.
You know what? They're muted. Hold on. I can unmute them. Hold on.
Yeah.
They might be
The
talking.
lieutenant just walked in out of the room with the captain.
Oh, okay.
Probably some kind of call they're handling, but let me just see if I can get, we're all
Can
kind
I
of in
jump
separate
in here?
rooms.
If
To
we
refresh your memory, we bought snows with separate rims.
Yep.
So we wouldn't have to do remounts, and those were on the additional vehicles that we got last year. So that's why our cost, our run did go up a little bit for tires and rims.
Yeah, so also like with the Tahoe, generally what we try to do is we try to keep tires mounted on rims. This way, if there's a flat tire, instead of having to pull it off and mount it, DPW can just change a tire for us. So is Roy in there?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Chief. We
Okay.
had to buy 4 extra rims for the Tahoe because we don't have any stock of rims. Since it was the first Tahoe, we needed to put snow tires on those rims, and the tires that came with the vehicle were still perfectly fine. So we want to unbead those. So to get 4 new rims, so we have some spares.
So in your opinion, you're still at the 7,000, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
they're kind of an everyday wear item.
Okay.
We got good use out of the snow tires this year.
Okay, I'm good with the 7,000. Vice President Morgan?
Yes, I'm good with it.
Councilman Casio?
I'm fine.
Councilman DeSena?
yes.
Okay. Let's just vote on it and be done. I'll make a motion for the 7,000, but
Second.
do roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. That was the last line item that I have, unless Chief Skinner or anything else.
I believe that's it. Listen, thank you for your time. I know it was a little longer than we normally go, but it worked out. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chief Skinner, Lieutenant Calamari, Lieutenant Pecora, Lieutenant Chera, and to the council for a very productive budget meeting.
Yes, and the director is also in the room with us.
Thank you, Director. Yes.
Kind of the strong silent type, but he's on board.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Gill.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. The next meeting is Thursday, and for the council, we'll be sending out the agenda later this week for the rest of the meetings. Again, please, if you have any conflicts, if you could let me know.
We have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, I was getting there, yes. I'm sorry, Councilman DeSena.
Fire department on Thursday?
I'm waiting to hear confirmation back that they're available. So I will let everybody know if that, I will let the council know either way. So, but yes, thank you. Motion to adjourn budget.
They are confirmed for Thursday.
They are. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Togo.
you, Mr. Silva.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night,
Have a-
everyone. Thank you.
Later.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.